So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win!
Tyree talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, gift stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine right, jet flying, son of a gun.
Taylor's gone. Jonathan Taylor. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy.
I'm never taking a back seat to anybody and don't plan on starting.
At top Rickhouse #1 at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Thursday. Hope you're having a great start to your day. We're closer to the weekend and closer to the game of the year in college football. Hope everyone is doing well, enjoying a little snowfall out there today as predicted. Looked out this morning and there it was, the fluffy white stuff coming down. So, and I believe this is the first time we've gotten below the freezing mark, which is the longest into the season that we have gone in 100 years before reaching that. But that's okay. How's everybody doing? Spitting snow down in southern Indiana, it looks like, which means Evansville, which is not southern Indiana. I don't know why you folks that live in Evansville think that that's southern Indiana. That's southwest Indiana. Southern Indiana is New Albany, Clarksville, Jeffersonville, that area right there. It's just funny how different people who live different places and consider it different parts of and other people in the different parts of the state think this is that. And I just like to get into the geographical breakdowns of the Hoosier State. I hope you're having a great start to your day, even though it's a little chilly out there, but that's okay. Basketball tonight as Indiana back on the hardwood as they take on UNC Greensboro, their final tune-up before heading off to the warm confines of the Bahamas. Appreciate everybody being on, no matter where and how you're listening. 97.7 ESPN, the ref, always the right call in Evansville, down in southwest Indiana. Up in the region, on the voice of the region, 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJOB. And over in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked in right here all day. And if you're catching us on YouTube because you don't live in one of those fine places, make sure you lock it in. Hit the subscribe button and notification toggles. That way you don't miss a thing, including the post-game football show that will be coming up from Ohio State. Now that we have a basketball game tonight, that I just realized probably have a post-game basketball show tonight. Have to confirm that with the Todd father, but probably expect to do that. And we've got plenty to get to when Bob joins us. Bob had a piece out yesterday about Tommy Tuberville and should change his name to Tommy Booberville or something that matches his moronic beliefs. Don't forget to go to the Indiana Sports Beat fantasy tab over in the ESPN and get your college pick'ems in. I got to do that for this week. I'm like right at 500, but I'm in the top 10. It's amazing. That's how hard it is picking against the spread. Last time I checked, I was like 6, but I'm at 500. That's not winning. It's difficult. I think Mr. Bauer's still leading, man, and doing a heck of a job. Appreciate everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline from all over Atlanta and Pennsylvania, and even gritty down in Southwest Indiana. How's everybody doing? Grand Rapids? Got it from all over. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Who's going to the game this weekend? I know it was a tough ticket to get, probably. I mean, although that they have 100,000 seats, they kind of like to hold on to them. So, and while they do, there we go. Big John B. Fort Wayne. Yeah. Appreciate you, man. Hope you're doing well. What was I thinking about? Now I forgot, so I'll have to think about something else. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend. This is the game of the year in college football. And I don't think very many people had it on their bingo card at the start of the season for this to be the game that everyone is going to be watching. I mean, it's all on the line for both of these teams, to be honest with you. The ramifications, neither will get booted out of the college football playoff. I really think it would take a beat down for Indiana for this to knock them out as an 11-1 team. And I just don't see that. I think they cover the spread at worst, but I think they're also as capable of winning the game as covering the spread. So it's going to be a very interesting game. We'll talk with Coach Griff when he joins us about what Indiana is going to have to do to win this game. What are the strengths of Ohio State? Where can Indiana possibly exploit some weaknesses? We know they've had some injuries here lately. They lost a starting center 2 days ago. So, and don't forget that the ISB merch store open, ready for biz. ISBradio.itemorder.com. That's all you have to do is go hit that up. And where was that? I had a picture of Jamie Hoy's design that I just love. The welcome to the Sig 10. For those of you that can see on YouTube, you can see that, which is a pretty cool little design. I've got a song that goes with that too, man. It's pretty cool. But yeah, reach out, get yourself some welcome to the Sig 10 merch. All the proceeds from that are going to the Boys and Girls Club. So no one's trying to make money on that. At least I'm not. And just a cool design and a cool way to make some money for charity. So there's that for you. And we love it. Lots more coming up. Coach Griffith will join us in the next segment. We're back with you right after these messages brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company. Make sure you stop by. Visit Hard Truth in Nashville, Indiana. Full-service restaurant, live music, great spirits. They've got it all. We're back with more right after this.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Glad to have you back. Coach Griffith with us as well. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning, my friend. Doing great.
Good day to you.
A little snow out there today makes it always feel like a little Christmassy with a little snow out there today.
Yeah, no Christmassy, no Christmas. Thanksgiving's up next. So
well, I always lump them all together, but I go to the big one.
Might as well.
Yeah, I'm looking for 2 weeks off.
Go small.
I'm
2
looking
weeks off. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I know you don't. That's why
I wish we had that. But and as a matter of fact, it looks like that this year a lot more action will be coming, especially if there is college football playoff action, which
it's an exciting time. I mean, this is probably the best time of the year for a lot of people because you get the overlapping of football and basketball and everybody's rolling now. Everybody's starting to get into the swing basketball wise with the schedules and such and the tourneys that come up over the holidays as well. So a lot of fun time.
Yeah. And this Saturday for Indiana, it will determine a lot. We will be able to pretty much ascertain exactly what's going to happen with Indiana as far as if they win, they're going to, at a minimum, have a home to be able to host a home playoff game at a minimum, because they will play in the Big Ten championship, and whoever loses in that game, I think, hosts a playoff game. The winner gets to bye.
Yeah.
But if Indiana loses this game, they're most likely to travel in a playoff game.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how many people in the national media scene are so PO'd at Indiana right now. Like it's Indiana's fault that they played a schedule that they were dealt. no one gave a what at the beginning year about Indiana and Sig's comments or anything like that. But now everybody's up in the arms about Indiana being at 5 because they haven't played anybody. And people don't do their research. Indiana's played Power 4 teams that either were 500 or one loss when Indiana played them, or 2, like Nebraska came into Indiana. Yeah, came into Indiana 5-1 or to that, or 5-2 to that point. I can't remember, but they had
Indiana beat them so badly that they have not won a game since.
Right.
Yeah, they've lost 5 games in a row.
So and see, this is the one thing with the college football playoff, and I know they do it for the sake of being transparent, but they put these pictures out there of where people are, and I understand that it's a snapshot in time, but nobody ever looks at it that way. You know, these rankings, these shows where people are and stuff like that is what would be if the day was the end of the season. You got 2 more weeks. We got to see what happens over the next 2 weeks. I mean, all these teams got 2 games left. Now, Georgia can cry all they want to when they put one on UMass this weekend, because that's always bothered me about the SEC that schedules these Tennessee, Chattanooga, and all these
Alabama,
teams.
Mercer last week.
Yeah, in this latter part of the year, because the way they described it in the SEC back when this was all being talked about was it was a good time to potentially give other guys on their roster a chance to play, and rest bodies.
That's the biggest load of crap. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games as opposed to 8 for the SEC.
Yeah.
And they are not budging from that. And I don't understand why. They're going to make the same amount of money.
Yeah, if not more.
So it's like, what's the deal?
And the other
there's
thing,
a reason.
Yeah, the other thing, Jim, that these people don't do is look. The Big Ten is an 18-team league. There are going to be times where the schedule for any Big Ten team could be drastically different than a lot of teams. It's just the luck of the draw and how the schedule gets filled out, So I guess it's one of those things that you're better off putting cotton in your ears at this time. I just laugh at people. I really do. I really laugh at people. I was on Believe in Buckeyes podcast last night. And
did you believe them?
I do, because you know what? There are 2 guys that played for Ohio State under Jim Tressel. And you know what? They respect what Indiana's done by what they've seen on the field of play and statistics.
But
they're nervous.
Okay, I thought there was a big hairy butt there.
No. I mean, they're going to be biased like anything else when you're a fan, but they have looked at Indiana and seen what everyone else has seen. If you can open your eyes and watch the games, just like anyone objectively, Indiana is a good football team in the Big Ten. How they compare with anybody else, nobody knows. I mean, don't give me this.
That's why they played the games.
Yeah.
Stop whining. What I don't understand is what the hell does the SEC expect for this to be the SEC tournament?
Yeah,
because I don't think anything short of that is going to make them happy. Well, we should have 8 of the 12 teams. I think that's exactly how they feel. You know what? I've already said this is why they should do it. Why don't you go ahead and have only play 8 stinking conference games, eliminate one of those playtime games, start an SEC tournament.
Yeah.
There's your first round. Eliminate that group right there. If you really want it, boom, do it. They're not going to do it, though, because they want it to be given to them as if they are some holier than thou institution, and they're not.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's like I said, I mean, it's just hilarious to listen to some of these guys that have no clue what they're even really talking about outside of the coaches, and they're all going to politic for themselves. The SEC's got a bunch of politicians as head coaches. And so again, they're moaning and groaning about, the Big Ten, I guess. And then they got Texas in there who hasn't played, when you look at their schedule, who they played. And they got, it's just, it just bothers me. It always bothers me.
The games will be played, and we won't have to worry
Ohio
about
State
whining.
Buckeyes. I'm sorry, I had to bring that up to get it off my chest.
It's true. Getting to the game. What does Indiana have to do to beat Ohio State? What is Ohio State really offensively? I know they've got Will Howard at quarterback, but he hasn't. I haven't checked the standings for a minute, but the last time I did, he wasn't, jumping out statistically wise as one of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, Chip Kelly is a very good offensive mind, and he does a great job of utilizing formations, motions, shifts, and things of that nature to find where he can get a one-on-one matchup on the outside or in the run game, put the quarterback in a position where the defense is not accounted for him. So that's number one. Will Howard is a big kid. I don't necessarily think he is a quote unquote pro passer quarterback. I think he's more of your traditional guy that can throw it with some accuracy, but he's dangerous if you don't account for him, and he can pull it and run, and he's a big load. I mean, he's a big dude. Him
and Curtis Rourke are actually pretty comparable statistical wise, with the difference in let's see. Will Rogers has played one more game or two more games.
Yeah, right. There's a differential in games and things like that. And then you got to say that, Curtis missed a full game because of the thumb. But I look at the PFF statistical analysis of things and how people grade out and stuff. And these are objective people from my perspective that do what they do in terms of grading teams and things of that nature based upon film analysis. But what I would say is what Curtis Rourke has over Howard is Curtis is the top rated quarterback under pressure in the country. And he that's where Curtis, earns his keep in a lot of ways, and the mind that he has in terms of being able to do a lot of the right things and keeping away from the wrong things. So Jim Knowles is a guy that is going to pressure you. He's going to bring exotic blitzes. They're going to man you. They're going to play. We're going to see what like Washington did, man you up, pressure. What Michigan did, of course, because Michigan did have success by, manning up on the outside and they had a pretty good stout defensive front. And, Michigan's got a good defense. I mean, that's the bottom line. But you're going to see some of the same things there. Now, I know Jim Knowles is nervous from the standpoint of Curtis's ability to fight through some pressure stuff, which makes any defensive coordinator nervous. And I go back to the Nebraska game. Nebraska was frustrated defensively because they tried everything that day, and Curtis made them wrong every time. And then they go into Ohio State the very next week after giving up a ton of yards and points, and they hold Ohio State, I think, to their worst offensive production of the year in that one game, and Ohio State had to score late to beat them. So it's going to be a back and forth ball game. I mean, I look for Indiana has to have a running game. However, that is established. That's one thing that they've lost over the last couple of weeks in the running game. They just haven't had much of one. So they got to stay out of the, being one-dimensional that allows Ohio State to tee off on them. What they'd have to do there is that they have to have great efficiency on first and second down that allows them to convert third downs of 3 or 4 yards or less. If Indiana gets behind the chains and off schedule, it's going to be very tough sledding against an Ohio State defense that when they get you off schedule, they're really good at it. Penn State, did some nice things against them. That ball game came down to Penn State's inability to score from the 5-yard line. They threw a pick in the end zone and got stopped on downs. Or that's a totally different ball game. So, and Penn State's defense did actually a pretty good job against them, in that regard. But defensively, they just can't give up the cheap score. They've got some speed on the outside that can legit get it. And, their running backs are good. And those are the type of guys that you see that can take a 2-yard gain and make it a 70-yard touchdown because they've got the speed. So Indiana's got to make them earn everything, keep them in front of them, maintain leverage defensively, and do the things that they've been doing, because everything that they've done to this point has been really good in terms of executing a defensive responsibility, gap sound, tackling, finding ways to get turnovers in that regard. I mean, I was threw this down for you last, let's see, the 3 common games, and I'm probably sure you heard this because this is really kind of came from Pat McAfee shows. The only 3 games you got to compare Ohio State and Indiana to is Nebraska, Northwestern, and Michigan State. Indiana, and that when you look at those 3 common opponents, scoring margin of those 3 games, Nebraska, Northwestern, Michigan State, Ohio State was a plus 59. Indiana was a plus 103. Yardage margin of those 3 games. Ohio State had a plus 418. Indiana had a plus 576 in yardage margin. Turnover margin, OSU had a plus 3 in turnover margins, which was really good. Indiana doubled them, plus 6. Explosive plays, which we always talk about as an offensive coach. You got to have explosive plays. Ohio State in those 3 games had a plus 7. Indiana had a plus 18 in explosive plays in those 3 common games. And Ohio State had a score late in the 4th quarter to beat Nebraska that Indiana pounded. And then the scoring between the rest of them are pretty identical in terms of who won and who didn't, in terms of numbers. But so if you look at it, that's the only 3 things you've got to compare the 2 teams when you look at common opponents. And so when you look at that, it tells you that it's going to be a tight ball game. Who gets the more explosive plays is probably going to win. And turnover margin and special teams are going to be a factor. So those are the dynamics that enter these type of games, because you can't turn the ball over in these type of games. And the special teams units, you've got to find ways to win the hidden yardage in those games, be it a punt return that's big, a kickoff return, all these things that factor in when you got 2 teams. These are 2 really good teams. It's one of those things. It's hard to find a weakness. It really is. It's hard to find a weakness. The guys from Ohio State that I was talking to last night, they think Ohio State will try to do what Michigan did defensively and man up Indiana's receivers and load the box up and try to, force Indiana to throw 50-50 balls.
Well, we'll certainly find out. The Buckeyes have a good running game as well, one of the best tandems in the conference, along with Indiana, but they slightly advantaged. But
what do you see? What do you see from your perspective there, Jimmy? I want to hear what.
If you're gonna, will you be around a little bit later, and we'll get you back on to do another segment here in a little bit. We'll get to Bob Kravitz, and then
I know you back in time. Yeah, I'll come back later if you want to talk some more. I'm sorry, I got a little rambly there early on.
No.
With
it
this
always works out well.
College football playoffs got my blood boiling a little bit this week.
Hey, so. I'd love to do a second segment on that today, and we'll do that a little bit
later when you want to do it. If it works out, great. I can.
Well, absolutely will, brother. Looking forward to it. There's Coach Griffith from Hoosier Tailgate. We'll be back with more right after this break, including Bob Kravitz.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, coming to you from high atop the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Bob Kravitz joins us now. Robert, how are you, sir?
I'm splendid, Jim Coyle. How are you?
Wonderful. You look splendid. You got the matching Callaway.
Indiana hockey.
Indiana hockey.
Yeah, it's hard to find that those items, but that
has to be some vintage. That has to be a vintage piece of apparel.
It's fairly recent acquisition.
So, wow.
Yeah. So Indiana hockey. I have. If any of your listeners know where I could find an Indiana hockey hat, I used to have one, but it's beat to crap. So it's unwearable. So if you know where I can find an Indiana hockey hat, let Jim know, and he'll pass it on.
We'll have to make one, man. We can do that. How are you doing? I saw your piece and read it about Tommy Tuberville. It got me on a kick for the last couple of days. What a moron, as you appropriately called him. And of all people that should know better, this idiot is the biggest idiot of all the idiots. And I'm like, you expect that from a politician, but this is a guy that should be educated, because half the time those people are so uneducated on things they're talking about when it comes to sports. But here you have a guy who should know, and he's full of crap. I mean, I agree with the contract part of it. I think that there should be a way to be able to have multi-year agreements so you can, that will save some cost on recruiting. And
Just there's a whole bunch of positives that come along with it. But his intention that Indiana went out and bought a freaking football team is ludicrous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm like you. Well, look, on the point where he talks about contracts, that's fine. But how about coaches? How about Tommy Tuberville?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy who literally left recruits at the dinner table to accept a job at Cincinnati. He's a guy who promised he wouldn't leave. I forget where it was, maybe Mississippi, to go to Auburn. You know, I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm sorry. But the thing he said about Indiana, like Indiana's flexing its financial muscles and buying themselves a team. Shut the bleep up.
They've been waiting all these decades for this moment to go out and purchase a team.
Well, if you're talking about the Indiana basketball team, yes, best team money could buy. Absolutely. Got no problem with that. But
what about Ohio State's $20 million NIL yearly budget?
Of course, I would be very curious to compare IU's budget with what Ohio State is paying.
Not even close. Not even half.
Well, look, only 6 of IU's players are from Power 4 conferences. The rest were demanding nickels coming from Ohio University and JMU and all the rest. They're not getting paid. I mean, they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid the big bucks like they are at Ohio State. So it just, for him to say that Indiana is emblematic of everything that's gone wrong with college football is one of the most absurd things I've heard from a guy who says a lot of absurd things.
I hope someone holds him accountable for his moronic statements. But it just goes to show you, what is it about people in politics? They just become stupid.
Well, this guy was pretty dumb to start with. So
he didn't have far to travel.
It wasn't a long fall for old Tommy Tuberville.
Yeah, that seems to be what he did in the world of college football. Him and Willie Taggart. I've never seen a guy that got more jobs off of nothing than Willie Taggart.
He fell up
every time. Every stinking time, the guy. I mean, he has made more money with the least amount of success than anyone I've ever seen. Maybe save for Archie Miller.
So what's? I want to hear your official pick, and then I'll give you mine. Are you allowed to give
Ohio
your
State, Indiana? Oh,
yeah,
whatever I want.
I know it's your show.
What do I think is really going to happen?
No, No,
I think Indiana is capable of winning this game.
I do too.
I know it is going to be a very, very tough win, but I also know that Curt Cignetti is 7-1 coming off of bye weeks, that they know the importance. I don't care what they say about this being the next game. There is greatly added importance to this game. The ramifications are just so big. And I know that that's not lost upon them. I don't know if that helps or hurts going into the game, because Ohio State, while they still have ramifications, are probably not looking at it as big. They're getting in regardless.
They're getting in. No question. Yeah. Unless IU.
But they want to go to the Big Ten championship, and the winner of this game goes to the Big Ten championship.
Right.
So just because it would just continue with the crazy chaos that is Curt Cignetti, I'm going to go with an Indiana upset win over Ohio State in a close game, that they play well on both sides of the ball. And it's going to take that, because Ohio State, Will Howard is a good quarterback. He's one of the top 4 in the Big Ten. They've got a running back duo that is probably the best duo in the Big Ten, right in front of Tyson Lawton and Justice Ellison for Indiana. But
and their wide receivers are studs.
And I think Indiana's defense is just better, a little bit.
Yeah. I am picking the upset as well. And usually I'm not a homer, but I'm being one today. I think they're going to win by 3 points. I think it's going to be a close game where IU is going to shock them early, take an early lead. Ohio State will crawl back, and then Indiana will make a play at the end. I think Curtis Rourke is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Well, besides, you got the Gabriel kid. I keep forgetting about the Pac-12. But, I mean, he's certainly one of the top two. And I think if he has a good game or if he has a breakout performance, he's going to get some consideration. I mean, he's not going to win the Heisman, God knows, but he'll be in the conversation anyway, maybe on the edge of the conversation.
Yeah, Curtis Rourke is currently thrown for 38 less yards than Will Rogers in 2 less games.
Right.
So,
is it Will Rogers or Will Howard?
Will Howard, rather. I get them mixed up. There happens to be both of they're fourth and fifth.
Okay.
Will Howard is fourth and Will Rogers is fifth.
Okay.
And of course you got I'm sure Dale Rogers' name isn't up there too.
Yeah.
Or Dale Evans, rather.
Dale Evans, yes.
The whole crew in. But yeah, Curtis Rourke would be ranked higher if he had those other games under his belt.
Right. No, I think IU's going to pull it off. I really do. And what a great story when you look at, IU with all its 0 stars and 1 stars and 2 stars going up against elite athletes from Ohio State. I mean, this would be epic. But that's why we play the games, man. It's going to be fascinating. The way I look at it, as long as IU doesn't get absolutely boat raced, and even if they do, they're in the big tournament. I think if they get crushed, maybe it's a question, a small question, but I think 11-1 ought to be enough to get them in. What do you think?
It absolutely should be, and by all of the metrics right now, that is the case. They have one of the highest, if not the highest, percentages of making the tournament at this moment.
Right,
so,
90-something%.
Yeah, so that shows that even with a loss, that they're probably not going to. You're playing the number 2 team in the country. You're not playing an unranked team.
Exactly.
That helps immensely. As a matter of fact, not only are you playing the number 2 team, they should probably be the number 1 team. But that's whole nother argument.
Well, yeah. So if Indiana wins, guess who's number 1 in the nation? It depends on what Oregon does. But number 2,
they'll only go to number 2. I think. I don't think they would move Indiana to number 1.
It just depends on what Oregon does, and I don't even know who they play this week.
But if Indiana were to go in there and win by like 10, they would deserve to be number 1 because
no doubt.
Oregon beat Ohio State at home on clock mismanagement by Ohio State. Right. So we'll see. It's all going to get to play out though, man. And if Indiana can get this done, it's life-changing for this program. Not that this season hasn't already been life-changing, but winning this game does so much that it is life-changing for the program.
Absolutely. And Cignetti has already had his life-changing moment. Can you imagine he was making $677,000 last year
that yesterday,
at JMU?
A year ago.
One year ago. Over $8 million. I've gotten raises in my life, but it's usually 2%. 2% raise. This guy got about 5,000% raise. I mean, he's doing pretty well for himself. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I was doing a radio show here in Indy yesterday, and they're like, well, IU is proactive and good for them. I'm like, look, they wouldn't have done it. They wouldn't have done it if somebody wasn't sniffing around like Florida.
Well, but that was, you knew that was going to happen. So
of course.
It was something that had to get done. And
it did. But I mean,
I was surprised that it was done during the season.
Yeah.
Just because it's hard to do all of that stuff in season. But I guess when you're offering that kind of money, it's not that hard to get done.
No. And look, again, you know that other schools were interested. I mean, why wouldn't they be? So they were proactive, but I think they were reactive as much as anything else. But good for them. I mean, now Indiana's got something that they can sustain, which has not been the case for a very, very long time.
Oregon on a bye this week. They are one game ahead of everyone else, and they'll finish up with a rival game against Washington. And but that shouldn't be. It's not a hill they can't climb, so they should finish the season undefeated and meet whoever wins this game in the Big Ten championship up in Indianapolis. Which again, that would be an unbelievable finish to the season for Indiana to go 12-0 and make the Big Ten title game,
wouldn't it?
To have Tommy Tuberville put that in his pipe and smoke it. But it's also it will also be not only the Big Ten, but Indiana giving the double birds to the SEC.
I mean, those the Paul Feinbaums and the media mafia from the SEC wonks. I mean, they're very loud. They've got a lot of positions in the media that are pretty notable, and they make their voices clear, heard, which is fine. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do in the media. But gosh, I just think there's something. I mean, you saw it before the season even started. There's something going on with this team. There's just something special brewing here, and I mean, we've seen it. And I think we're going to see it again on Saturday. Do we know what the weather is supposed to look like? I just rolled out of bed and saw snow, and I thought, oh my God, what's it going to be like on Saturday?
Well, I knew that was coming. That's not a shock, but I do not know what Saturday's weather for Columbus is yet. It's going to be, I'm assuming it's going to be kind of similar to here, which is going to be a high of 48 degrees and the game being at noon. So that would put the temperature in the lower 40s.
Yeah.
So, football weather.
Football weather. Yeah. They're not expecting anything terribly inclement. So that's good.
Yeah. Football weather, but which won't, as long as it's not raining, it's not going to impact the passing game, which is Indiana's. Well, we're going to see passing from both of these teams.
Yeah.
Although Indiana has the better passing game, Ohio State with a slightly better running game. They have a very good tandem in those two guys. I forgot their names, but they have the number. What is the 8th ranked rusher in the conference, Quishon Judkins, and then right behind him at 11th is Travion Henderson. So that's 600 yards for Henderson, and add another 700 for Judkins. So that's a pretty good run. Indiana's duo is, of course, Justice Ellison. He's got 686, almost 700 yards, and then Tyson Lawton is 500 yards. So it's pretty close as far as the tandem in yardage. So these teams are pretty close.
The big thing is Indiana's got to prevent the explosives.
That's what both teams have to do.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but I think it's especially important for Indiana. Maybe shorten the game a little bit, limit the number of possessions. I mean, they're going to have to play a damn near perfect game to beat these guys. But I think they got it in them. I really do.
They do, because that's what has brought them so much success, not beating themselves. Not making the dumb mistakes, the important 3rd down and 1s, and getting a illegal procedure penalty and turning that into a 3rd and 6 or whatever the case may be. Those drive killers. They've been fortunate to not do that, to not turn the ball over, and that is going to be critical in this game. Turnovers, because these teams tend to score, both of them, when they have the ball.
Yeah, take the over, whatever the over is, 50, 51, something like that.
I think it was something like that. Yeah, I have to agree. Both of these teams are offensively prolific, but defensively, Indiana, of course, very good on the defensive side, and Ohio State, I wonder where they are as a team. Let me see.
Ohio State just lost its center, and then they're a little bit weak on the offensive line because of some injuries, so that could play a role.
I think Indiana is just a lot better defensively. They do a lot better, and they lead the conference in sacks, tackles for loss. They have 73 tackles for loss.
Amazing.
Oregon is 10 behind that, and that is next in line.
And that's something.
It's crazy. So, and Oregon is way down the line. So Indiana's got a better line. They've got a quicker, more effective defensive. That group, their defensive line and linebackers, pretty stout.
Yeah,
I mean, they're one of the best in the Big Ten without question.
Yeah.
What's up next for you, man?
Well, obviously, a couple of things. I want to write a column on what the hell is wrong with Tyrese Halliburton.
Ooh, boy,
it's been bad. Certainly, I got the IU game on Saturday. I'll be writing from my couch. Are you going out?
I will be in Columbus.
Good for you. Good for you. And Colts have a monster game on Sunday. They need a repeat performance from Anthony Richardson, who played lights out against the Jets. The key to that sentence being against the Jets. I mean, they got a pretty good defense, but they're just a losing team. They're a losing operation right now, and I don't think guys' heads are in it. And the Colts played as good an offensive game as they've played all year, except maybe Pittsburgh.
Yeah, hopefully they can get it together, because ironically they can still stay, as crazy as this sounds.
Yeah, they're right in it.
Picture. And to get that win with Anthony Richardson has to be a shot in the arm.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the crazy thing. They got the Lions this weekend, but their last 5 games, they've only got one team with a winning record, and that's the Denver Broncos, who are 6-5, I believe. So they have a very soft final 4 games out of their last 5. Going to Denver is going to be obviously difficult, but I think there's a way they can sneak their way into this. They've got to start Sunday against Detroit, and that's going to be a very tall order, because that's probably the best team in the league right now.
Make sure you're subscribing to BobKravitz.com and keeping up with all that's going on in the state, whether it's the Pacers, Colts, Hoosiers, Boilers, whatever the case may be. Bob Kravitz has got his thoughts and opinions on it. Brother, I appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later, man.
Absolutely. Bob Kravitz from BobKravitz.com joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more after this.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Make sure you stop by, visit Hard Truth Distilling Company there in Nashville, Indiana, in beautiful Brown County, located on 325 acres of just absolutely beautiful rolling hills. Have some ATV tours you can take, distillery tours, enjoy the full-service restaurant. They've got live music. Tons of great Hard Truth spirits, like their cinnamon vodka with toasted coconut rum, sour mash bourbons, hard road ryes. They've got it all, man. Award-winning stuff, and glad to have them along, as well as great folks like Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. For those of you looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Looking forward to having Coach Griffith, there we go, back on with us.
Hey,
that didn't take long.
Back again, had a cup of coffee. Well, really Diet Coke, so off and running today on my caffeine.
Had to get
Off
the
and
caffeine
running.
going. But yeah, a day started out with our first, I guess you could say our first snowfall, at least for us down here. What's it like up there in Fort Wayne?
Yeah, we got a little snow on the ground this morning, a little dusting. I think there may be some more tonight into tomorrow. So high school football games tomorrow night are going to be a little chilly. I'll have to dress warm while I'm calling a game tomorrow night here in the Fort Wayne city.
Oh, do you have the
South
Fort
City.
Wayne
Doing the Bishop Lures, Garrett
Lures.
Bishop Lures versus the Garrett Railroaders. Going to be a great game here in Fort Wayne, and we have as many as 4 teams within the Northeast Indiana area that may have a possibility of showing up in Indy next week. So
I've got too many cities added to my weather app, and it won't let me add another one, so I can't get Columbus added in there because I don't know how to delete any of these.
Columbus is going to be overcast and in the 40s with
it's what I thought. So there we go.
Little to no wind.
Perfect football. That's football weather, people. You gotta you have a hoodie on and probably a jacket on top of that, and you're ready to roll.
a little hard truth in your little flask as you walk into the stadium that you can add to your coffee or beverage of choice.
Boy, oh boy, they've got those their peanut butter whiskey you could put in that
Maybe
that'll warm the cockles of your heart, baby.
You know it will. Yeah, but no, I think it's gonna. So from what I'm understanding, that's kind of the forecast, which I'm sure the college game day crowd, the big noon kickoff crowd, and the Big Ten pregame show, all are going to be in Columbus on Saturday.
Oh, the Big Ten is there also?
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I thought.
I did not realize that. So, wow.
I don't know where they're going. I don't know where they're going to put them all.
Well, I'm sure it has happened, but it could not have happened more than a handful of times that all three of those were at the same game.
Yeah, the only game I could think that could happen at would be like Michigan, Ohio State, but
exactly.
But
I've been even then. I don't know that that's happened. I'm sure it has, but wow, for Indiana to be a part of that, it shows you the magnitude of this game. I mean, what it means. It means what we know what it means as far as what happens if they win, but what it means from a respect standpoint. Finally, like I was telling Bob Kravitz with it, I said, you know what? It allows Indiana to just fly the double birds at the entire SEC and all of those other jacklegs that say, well, Indiana would not even have a chance against these 2-loss SEC teams, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, like Vanderbilt didn't have a chance.
It's always the SEC too. I mean, even Saban a week ago alluded to it. He didn't come out and say Indiana, but he was alluding to the fact that a 2-loss SEC team is probably better than a 1-loss team from any conference. But I'm sure he was referencing Indiana, but not fully coming out and saying it. But
well, I don't know, because you can't. I don't think you can compare. I think there are other 1-loss teams in other conferences that don't even measure up. That don't measure up. The Big 12 is not a deep conference. The ACC is well known to be kind of weak this year. And what happens with the ACC? I mean, Miami was long been thought to be the team that's going to come out of there, but they've got to win the conference championship to get into the college football playoffs. Period. Yeah. Whoever wins that. Now, who are they going to play for that? Who is that going to be? They've lost to Louisville already, but Louisville in turn lost to a 3-7 Stanford team. So is Clemson, Pitt, who is it going to be in the ACC?
Yeah, the ACC out of all of them, maybe the Big 12 a little bit, are a total could flip on the dime with everything in their respected conferences and stuff. So that's going to be an interesting. The ACC will be interesting because, Clemson, well, I'm sure they'll be pounding their fist on the table that they should be in, irregardless, and that type of stuff. Pitt, you got Pitt and BYU's. I'm losing track of these teams now. BYU's in the Big 12, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that one's even up in the air because they got beat a week ago by Utah.
No, they should have been beaten by Utah.
Oh, that's right. But they lost to, I can't remember. Kansas beat them. Kansas beat them at home last week. So they've got one loss. They lost to Kansas. It's nuts. And all these conferences, especially those two, come to mind with everything. But again, the one thing that I think with Indiana, if there's any team in a game of this magnitude, Indiana can just turn it loose, because in reality, I truly believe they have nothing to lose in my mind. I do think they're in. I know some people are going to say, what if they get beat by X? Well, those are hypotheticals that we really can't answer at this moment. But if you look at where they're at right now,
I think if they get beat like 56-7 or something crazy, that they would be in danger of getting left out.
But it's a number 2 team versus a number 5 team.
I know, I get that, but a number 5 team shouldn't give up 56
No, I agree with you.
So,
I agree with you. I mean,
I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Right,
I cannot imagine that scenario playing out, to be honest with you. It would take just injuries and crazy turnovers, all kinds of things, I think, for that to happen. So,
right. And that's what I think Indiana, in some respects, can play with the play loose, let it fly, and do the things that they've been doing, but just turn it loose, because the reality of the matter is they're playing with a little bit of insurance in their back pocket, because they're 10-0 at this point. It's not, Ohio State's the team that could ultimately be in jeopardy. I mean, the reality could be, if Ohio State would lose to Indiana, that gives them 2 losses.
They're not going anywhere with 2 losses, though.
Well, they're not going to be in the top. They may not even. They may be able to still host, because I don't know how much that drops them. But
this game, the loser of this game will be a traveling team in the college football playoffs. Period. Whoever loses this game will still be in the college football playoffs, but they will be in the 9, 10, 11, 12 group, to where they are going to have to travel to on a first round game. The winner of this game gets a minimum of hosting a playoff game, because they'll be in the Big Ten championship. The loser of the Big Ten championship, in my opinion, will host a college football playoff game. The winner gets the bye.
Right. But do you think Ohio State would really drop that far if they lost to the number 5 ranked team in the country?
They're not going to have 2 Big Ten teams host a game, and Indiana and the winner will definitely, at a minimum, host a game. And if they don't, it's going to be the other Big Ten championship competitor, which is Oregon. So that's why I see it going. Yeah. And they're a 2-loss team. They're not going to allow a 2-loss team to host a college football playoff game. I think one other SEC team, again, because balance,
right?
Sure. They're looking at balance, because they know if they don't, how much crap they're going to get from Greg Sankey and the SEC. Of keeping it balanced.
Piece of work. Well, the thing of it is like, and let's just assume that Ohio State and Oregon play again in the Big Ten championship, and Ohio State loses to the number 1 ranked team in the nation, and they're number 2, and that gives them 2 losses, 1 on a neutral field. I don't believe that a team that loses in a championship game is going to be dinged by the committee, because I think they're going to look at the championship games, whether you win it or make it there, different for the team that loses.
Yeah, they pretty much have already said that.
They've already said that. That's why
I've always thought that too. The conference championship games are an anomaly, because it's not like they don't happen. Winning helps you. Losing doesn't hurt you, because you're there, which means you're already above the rest of the teams in your conference.
Right.
And you're not going to be put down below any of those teams because of losing a conference championship.
Yeah,
I don't think, unless you were to get beat like a bell. So we'll see.
Well, this game, I mean, the reality of it is I think we both agree that Indiana, in this time period of playing Ohio State as an undefeated team, they do have a little insurance in their back pocket that they can go play loose and free without the pressure of saying either you win or you're out. Don't even bring in the differentials and things like that. I think they don't have the pressure that Ohio State does. Ohio State has all the pressure against Indiana. They know
absolutely
if they lose, they are probably going to be scrambling to stay in it in the top 11 in the country. And that's the
And
thing.
how much grief is Ryan Day going to receive?
Oh, I know. And the thing of it is that's what I mean with Indiana this week versus Ohio State. Ohio State has a lot more to lose than Indiana has, from the standpoint Indiana has theoretically a game in hand because they haven't lost any, irregardless of who they played, where they played them, and all that BS. So that's why I think Indiana, in some respects, with this ball game, I do believe that there's certain categories that I do think they have some advantages over Ohio State when it comes to this magnitude of a ball game. And I do think they have the key category of the quarterback. I think Curtis Rourke is the better quarterback than Howard is, just based upon what we've seen to date. From
statistically, he's better. I mean,
yeah, right.
I had the stats up a minute ago, and he's thrown for 38 less yards, but he's got 2 less games. That's a lot of yards to pick up in those 2 games. I mean, that's probably on average another 500 yards he would have.
Yeah.
So we got to take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. We've got more coming up. Coach Griffith with us from Hoosier Tailgate. Make sure you check that out tonight. What time is Hoosier Tailgate tonight?
7:30 live in person.
Live and in color, baby. But we're back with more with Coach Griffith at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com.
Hoosier Hanks East, located on College Ball Road in front of Kroger in Bloomington, is everything you could want. Great food like their custom pizzas, wings, wraps, unbeatable daily drink specials, live music on Fridays, and Hoosier Hanks East is home to Inside Indiana Football and Inside Indiana Basketball coaches shows hosted by Don Fisher. Be on the lookout for Hoosier Hanks ticket giveaways to Indiana and Colts games on social media. Stop by and meet Hoosier Hank at Hoosier Hanks East on College Ball Road in Bloomington. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria in Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here at the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Jim Coyle with you, Coach Griffith joining me as well from Hoosier Tailgate. You can catch Hoosier Tailgate tonight. Make sure you give him a follow as well. And then, of course, after the Ohio State-Indiana game on Saturday, number 2 Ohio State hosting number 5 Indiana. Stick with us and catch the post-game show with Coach Griffith and myself, as we'll deliver the hard truth of what happened on the day at the shoe. Man, that is going to be quite the environment with all that is going on. We've talked about. You've got the Big Ten has its show there. Fox Big Noon Kickoff is there. College Game Day is there. They're fighting for TV airwave space, man. That's a lot going on, a lot being broadcast from the same place. And again, when people look at the money that, say, Kurt Signetti is now making, every game like this with this kind of attention brings some of that money back in.
Mm-hmm.
The marketing value, the commercial value, the value of the students that will come to Indiana because of having a good football program. And for those of you that think that's not a deciding factor, sometimes you're wrong. It is. So there are small, integral little pieces that just add up in having a successful athletics program, but especially when it is football, because football is a different animal. It's different than basketball,
Absolutely.
even Indiana basketball, because a football game is an all-day affair. You get there early, you tailgate, you're at the game alone for 3.5 hours, as opposed to a 2-hour basketball game and hours beforehand tailgating with people. So it's a community thing. An all-day community get together every time. But you can't get that with basketball, and it matters greatly.
Well, when you look at the sport of football, they are the most, I guess you would call it, cash cow. If you're getting 60+ thousand and you're at your home games every game, that's not including any parking or anything like that. But you can see really quick how having football be successful and putting butts in the seat and having big games on your campus pays a huge dividend, not only to the institutional investment, but as well as the opportunity that it opens in recruiting. You want to be a part of the big boy table? Well, you got to go beat Ohio State and Michigan and other top programs for top prospects. The only way you do that is by winning and beating teams. And the publicity that Indiana has received this year has opened a lot of doors recruiting wise, and even bringing kids back into the fold that maybe all of a sudden, like, maybe I ought to take a look at Indiana a little stronger because of what has happened on the field. So there's no question that a successful football team is very beneficial to the university at large, as well as the athletic department.
Without question. And you can tell that the administration is on board in full with having a good football program, they knowing the importance of it. And not only that, stadium expansion, that stadium has to be bigger. They have to have more seats. They have to get more people in the seats. They have to have luxury suites. They have to get in. And I know I'm not saying this is something that they don't know. I know they know this, but these are things that are going to have to come and start coming quickly, because you've got to you can't maintain playing in a stadium it's half the size of your peers. And I'm not suggesting they turn Memorial Stadium into a 100,000 seat stadium. That would be nearly impossible and not wise. But it's got to increase to 68, 70,000. Be a Big Ten esque worthy stadium size, and you get the luxury suites in there. Now you're in big time football. You're bringing in the kind of funds that you're going to have to bring in on an annual basis to maintain this level of competitiveness, because they're going to have to, while they've been able to get away with not having to have these big ticket NIL guys, that's going to change. When as their recruiting levels continue to rise, so will the amount of NIL that is needed to land these kind of guys.
No question. And as far as Memorial Stadium is concerned, you're correct that they've got to get it up to that 70,000 would be 70,000 would probably be an ideal number, 75 maybe if they could. But the most important thing that they have to address, and in some respects, I think it's more immediate than anything, is the press box. They need to get that thing up and going and running, and they need to capture this lightning in a bottle right now and get it done, because the value of suites and things of that magnitude, they could probably do it, and do it with a lot of donor money, as it pertains to the press box on all fronts, whether it's the press, for the press, for, the general boosters and ones that are big time corporations that would buy suites and things of that magnitude. There's just so much money that they're leaving on the table by not addressing the press box in a immediate fashion. As far as putting seats in, I think that's even more important than putting seats in, if you want my opinion. From that standpoint, recruiting is, I think you're right on. I mean, here's the thing that has changed in college football, and why the Ohio States, Georgias, and Alabamas have been traditionally the teams that you always talk about and have great brand awareness. They were the teams that were getting all the 4 and 5 star type of kids week in, week out, and everyone else fought for what was left. And now with the portal and how that's being done, and the NIL money and all the other options that are out there for coaches to have in their toolbox, teams can become instantly competitive with the upper echelon because of the way things are today. I mean, that's why Indiana is where they're at. They were able to bring kids in that had an immediate impact on their roster, and SIG was able to cultivate that with the kids that were already here, that wanted to be here, but wanted to put the right time and energy in it to be a winner. And that's why the JMU kids were so important in this whole facet of things, because they understood what it took. And they were able to elevate themselves into the upper echelons of the Big Ten in a 365-day window, essentially. So that's why college football's changed and will change because of that. Alone, you're going to find teams instantly becoming more competitive, competable with other teams in their league, week in, week out, just because of that alone. Not on top of and then the recruiting aspect of it with like SIG is, like you said, it's going to open doors for them to get into some of these more talented kids. The Baldwin kid that they got to recommit, that kid out of Maryland, or I think he's out of Maryland. I think he's a big time DB now. That kid can play, and he's really good, and that's a big get for them. Who knows what happens with Juju Lewis now that is all come to fruition. He's decommitted from USC, and now his recruiting's back open, so forth and so on. So we can already see the fruits of this football team's labor on Saturday has opened some doors for them moving forward. Irregardless of how this year ends, that's already been established for them.
Well, we know how it is going to have the opportunity to end, and it is going to be amazing to see this play out. This scene. I mean, it's must see TV, and the fact that Indiana is the game that where all eyes are pointing. It's a shame that it is a noon game. I'll be honest with you. This is a game that deserves a better time slot. I'm not going to sit there and whine about it like the
Ohio State is right now.
I mean, everything you look or read is about they're whining about. I'm like, that's kind of good for Indiana because that seems to be their main concern about what time they play the game. You know what? You better be concerned about showing up at whatever time the game would be my message.
Well, it's gotten in the minds of Ohio State because, like I said, I was on with the Buckeye group last night talking about it, and these are two former players. They even brought to the attention that these type of games for Ohio State are better at night for them just from the energy alone that's created throughout the day and then explodes at a 7:00 kickoff. For them, it's a factor in, the mindset mentally from the player's perspective and the fans' perspective that, they feel like it's some type of disadvantage for them that they're not getting to play at night. And I've heard other teams talk about this as well, which, I guess I understand it, but, you're kind of, whatever time you play, just show up and play. That's kind of in my mentality. That's Sig's mentality. Just tell me when, where, and what time we're kicking off, and we'll be there. Now, if we're playing in the parking lot, let me know so I can make sure we have the correct footwear on to play out in the parking lot. But it's much.
Here's a quote from Signetti that was in a recent piece. Well, I'm kind of an early morning guy, so if we start at 7 a.m., I'm normally in here at 4:30 or 5 to kind of organize the day. And one of the first things I do is I kind of create the message of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the keys of the drill is getting everyone to think alike, players and coaches. I think it was Monday morning I came, and the first thing I wrote down was, we don't prepare to play it close, right? That's not what we do. And so we're excited about the opportunity and looking forward to it. He's not looking for it being a close game. He's looking to take this team in and kick Ohio State's butt. That is the plan every game, to go kick butt, because you have to have the high standard that he talks about. And that cannot change no matter who the opponent is.
No, the opponent is always a faceless, nameless opponent. That's the coaches speak that you hear all the time. And Coach Signetti lives it, breathes it, and preaches it to his coaches and players. So when they play, whoever they play, whether it's Michigan or Ohio State, the goal doesn't change. The goal is to go and defeat your opponent into submission and win in a fashion that leaves no doubt on the table as to who was the better team on that particular day. And they've been able to do that for, I guess you could say, 9 of the 10 weeks. But his message hasn't changed a bit in that regard. And, this Ohio State team, from what I watch, and this time I've been able to get some all 22 film. I'm not going to tell you how I did it, but of Ohio State, which gives you the wide and the end zone angle, the way coaches watch it. I thought they were the better team than Oregon when they played Oregon early on. Damon Gabriel had a hell of a game, and they made some big plays and some big chunk plays. But I thought Ohio State was the better team at the point of attack, comparing Oregon's O-line versus their D-line and vice versa. In that respect, they had some problems with, time management, however you want to look at it. But I thought they were the better team, but they lost. But they barely lost to them. So I think in some respects, Indiana matches up well against anybody they play, be it Ohio State, be it Oregon, be it whoever they're in front of each and every week, because I think we've got the evidence to show that Indiana has matched up against every team they played pretty well, because the record shows that, and we've got evidence that shows that. So there's no question that Indiana has every, the nothing to lose mentality, and Ohio State has a hell of a lot more to lose. And so when you get to that point, Ryan Day's problem is going to be trying to keep his kids loose and not tune in to what the outside world is saying about, well, you should beat the hell out of Indiana. It's Indiana, for Christ's sakes. They're in that mentality in that world over there. But they know that Indiana's a damn good football team, and if they don't come to play Saturday, if they don't play free and loose, they're going to have problems, because then you're going to get kids second guessing themselves and things of that nature. So I like the matchup. I like what Indiana has on the table. Do I think Ohio State has a little bit more speed than Indiana? Probably. But I do think Indiana's played the more consistent ball for the better part of 10 weeks, in my opinion.
Someone gave me a unique stat last night. Indiana has only beaten Ohio State like 11 times or something.
12 times in the history.
12 times. But have 10 of them been at Ohio State?
I do believe over the course of the years, that is a accurate statement. I've heard the same thing.
Which is kind of mind-boggling, and this would be the first time in 37 years that Indiana has beaten Ohio State anywhere. But
well, in 2020, you remember Indiana had that should have been that was one of those shoulda, woulda, could have.
Oh, absolutely. The two fumbles inside the 15-yard line and a pick six. Yeah, that was completely.
And Ohio State was being down their leg half the game because they didn't know what the heck to do, because they were getting smashed right in the mouth. But
it has been 37 years, and they can get that done. We've got to take a quick break. We'll go to break with Kurt Signetti answering the question about his team taking on the persona of its head coach, and we'll be back with more to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this.
I think we have a confident team that believes and takes care of business. They prep well. They're detailed. They play fairly consistently to a standard, not circumstances of the game, and that's what we preach. And I've heard that comment that they have, and I guess that's a good thing.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com. Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. Hungry for something a little different? Well, head to the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm with a Cajun flair, like their loaded voodoo fries, gator bites, or jambalaya, and so much more. The Rusty Gator also has live music each Friday and Saturday night with some of the best local and regional artists around. Visit the Rusty Gator Fork and Ale in Bedford and get your Cajun on. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Coach Curtis Rourke came from Ohio University, and he was a really good run pass guy at OU. He had over 800 yards rushing in his career, and this year he's netted 17. Now, they played a lot of blowout games. He hasn't had to run the ball, kind of like your quarterbacks in the blowouts, you don't run them. Is that a wrinkle that in a matchup game that you guys are preparing for, that he's got that in his repertoire?
Sure.
Is that something that is involved in preparing for him, and just what do you see with him?
Yeah, no, he's played good football this year, and yeah, he has, athleticism and can, make guys miss and run, and he's seen him, obviously the numbers that he had leading into the season. So, we got to make sure we're playing it honest. But I think he's, played good football this year. The numbers speak for themselves, and he's very accurate in what he does, and he knows what he's doing. He's played a lot of football, so he's an experienced guy. So, again, great challenge for our team.
You guys have faced good receivers before this year in Oregon. Just wondering how this group of Indiana guys, their pass catchers, it seems like they got a lot of guys who've been able to score, just the depth and the overall. They've got like 4 or 5 guys who've been multiple touchdowns this year. What makes them a good receiving corps?
Yeah, they're very productive. They made a lot of plays this year and looked like, they run really good routes and have good ball skills. And so, we've played good receivers before, but these guys are just on par with, those guys. And so, again, we got to get to work this week and make sure that we have a great week of preparation so that, our guys know what it's going to feel like on Saturday. But the combination of the route running, the throwing, the catching, and the way that the quarterback and the receivers work has been very productive up into this year. So, again, big for our guys this week.
That was Coach Ryan Day, the head coach of the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, as they prepare to host the number 5 ranked Indiana Hoosiers on Saturday. And Indiana's offense has not been at its peak, its zenith. Kind of, since Curtis Rourke went down, they've been good, don't get me wrong, but they've not reached back to that zenith point. And this is about as good as time as any. You're coming off of a bye week, which was really an off week, not a bye week. We've got to stop using that term. I heard someone correctly talking about it and saying, it's not a bye week, it's an off week. A bye is something you get in the tournament. And I'm like, they weren't talking to me, but I'm like, yeah, you know what? I say that too. And it's just a commonplace thing to say, off week. Regardless, Curt Cignetti is 7-1 in those opportunities. Man, that tells me you give him time to prepare, and that's dangerous for the opponent. And it's also the perfect time to get everyone healthy. And Curt Cignetti said that they're going into this game healthy. Hugely important. Getting all those guys back. They're ready to go. Now, you've got someone like D'Angelo Pons, who is one of the top defensive backs in the country, but he's only like 5'9". He's going to be going up against like a 6'3" wideout for Ohio State. That's got to be a matchup that is in their favor. Obviously, the height differential. I mean, they can throw those balls up and out of his reach. If the balls are put where they need to be, it's pretty much impossible to defend that.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you get the height advantage on a kid, yeah, you're going to try to exploit it. They're going to exploit it. But they also understand that D'Angelo Pounds is one of those guys at corner, regardless of size, finds ways to overcome a differential like that by either finding ways to strip, stroke, do everything they can to keep the ball from out of the receiver's hands, and I think he does a pretty good job of it. In some cases, I've even seen him, take a couple PIs for the sake of not giving up the big play. And sometimes that's the right thing to do, depending on the situation. And I think that's where D'Angelo Pounds makes himself the corner that he is he's a pretty headsy player.
15's better than 7, baby.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if Brian's going to get up and challenge him in their face as much as maybe they would have. I think they'll probably give him some slack in there, here and there, and say, take the under stuff. We're just not going to let you get behind us. But I don't necessarily think they're going to change a whole lot of who they are, what they are defensively. Brian Haynes is like Sig. They're aggressive. They're pedal to the metal, and they're going to find ways to pressure you and get after you as much as they humanly possibly can with what they've got. And thus far this year, they've shown they can do that. And I made the comment last night, Michigan is the only reason why Michigan is the way they are this year is they don't have a quarterback. I mean, their defense is really good and their offense isn't too bad, even though they lost a lot of guys up front. But my God, they're Michigan. They just reload those guys. But I told them, I said, if you take Curtis Rourke and you put him in maize and blue, Michigan's a completely different football team, because the other Curtis Rourke is that much of a difference maker pulling the trigger to whoever he's throwing to or handing off to. So that's kind of how I see what Curtis Rourke brings to the table for the offense that he's running on Saturday. He is a difference maker, and he's got some guys on the outside that can make a difference. And the guys running the ball, they give you everything they got. They got a 3-headed monster that they can throw and roll out there against Ohio State. And that's the thing that I think makes Indiana a well-rounded football team. And when you have Urban Meyer singing your praises for 3 or 4 weeks already, I don't think there's anything that people are going to say about Indiana, especially coming from Urban Meyer, who is the Holy Grail in Buckeye land.
Exactly. To me, the number one thing Indiana has to do without question is protect the quarterback. They cannot have a week like they had against Michigan. Michigan has virtually no offense. That is not the case for Ohio State. If they allow that kind of penetration on offense this week and for Curtis Rourke to get sacked multiple times, it's going to be very difficult for this Indiana team to score. So, and it will not be difficult for Ohio State to score. Well, it won't be like Michigan. They will put points on the board. So Indiana has to protect the quarterback. That has to be the number one priority. Everything else has to also happen. But if this is not happening, nothing else matters. There won't be a running game. There won't be a passing game. It won't matter what else, because they cannot allow that kind of penetration. But I think that having those 2 weeks is helping immensely in that, working on that, watching that film, watching what were the breakdowns. And it wasn't so much of poor play. They were going up against a hell of a defensive line. Let's be honest. They got like 3 NFL draft abilities.
Yeah.
So, but it's a great learning lesson. And you use that, you learn from that. And as long as they can improve upon that and do that, Indiana is going to be hard to stop. If you can protect Curtis Rourke, Indiana is just going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's defense, all giving the fact that they're really good, but so is Michigan. So Indiana's faced a really, really good defense. And don't forget, Nebraska wasn't too bad either prior to their game where they rolled them up 56 points. But Indiana, like you said, Jim, yeah, you got to protect the quarterback. Indiana has to find ways to make sure that their RPOs are not taken away from them. That was one thing that Michigan was able to do pretty good against Indiana. Indiana has really excelled at the RPO game because of what Curtis does with the football. He understands when the advantages are in his favor, and that is a key critical component of their offense has been the RPO. Now, Curtis doesn't run the ball like he did at Ohio U. One major reason is because of the ACL injury he had. So he's not that guy as much as he once was. That doesn't mean he can't do it. I just don't think it's a factor in their offense like it may have been if he was, his Ohio U days. But the RPO game is vitally important for Indiana. They cannot get into a 50-50 ball game offensively. That is not going to work against Ohio State. Yeah, you're going to have some back shoulder throws here and there, and that's all well and good, but you just can't start lining up in every play that you're going to decide to throw it and throw 50-50 balls because that's just not a productive way to attack it. So run game is vitally important, as is the protection of the quarterback. So they've got to get a run game going. They've got to have the balance so that they can keep Ohio State off balance offensively, because if they don't do that, we saw what Michigan did, and they teed it up with 4 guys with pressure, and it just wasn't a very good second half for Indiana offensively 2 Saturdays ago. But I think you're correct. I think the bye week came at a great time. I think it enabled the offensive line to get their legs back under them a little bit, to be a little bit refresher. Also, it enabled the Tyler to come in and work with a first 5 unit to kind of, get on the same page with those guys. I think that had some of the issues last 2 Saturdays ago when Evans blew out his Achilles on a Thursday, and all of a sudden Stevens is at the forefront playing a game that may have not gotten as many reps in practice that week. So now they've had 2 weeks to practice together as an offensive unit. And I think that's where the off week became an advantage for Indiana, and they'll be well prepared. I think it's an advantage. I always felt that in coaching. When you had 2 weeks to prepare for an opponent, it's an advantage because of what you can study on film. You can put some things together that you think are going to be successful or have answers to things that you maybe wouldn't have thought of in a shorter week. So I just think there's a lot of positive on Indiana's side heading into this big matchup.
Absolutely. And it is going to be a high time in Bloomington with a lot of folks gathered around the TVs to watch. I'm wondering how many people, IU people, Hoosier fans, will be able to make the trip, that were able to access tickets.
It's a great place to watch a game. I tell you that now.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's one of the iconic stadiums in America, man.
My son got his career started off at Ohio State his freshman year when they played over there under Kevin Wilson. And fortunately that week I wasn't coaching, and so I was able to go to that game and experience the shoe for the very first time. And I was like, wow, I understand now why this is such a big deal. And then, then all of a sudden I see my son running around. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? He didn't tell me he was going to play today. And my wife goes, where's he at? I said, well, right now he's on Ohio State's bench because he just got taken out by the corner on punt return because he was a gunner guy that day. So, it's an interesting dynamic. It's a great place to watch a game. It's a hard place to park, though. Just understand that parking's not it's not great at Ohio State.
I was there. I was in a parking garage somewhere.
Yeah, I was like 3 blocks away, and you don't have buses. You had to walk it, man. And I was like, man, this is bad. I don't like this idea, but
that's how it is for most of these big places. People don't realize Indiana is a unique situation with all the parking that is around the stadium. That's not the case in most of these big places.
Like you said, a lot of these teams are landlocked where their stadiums are located in terms of their campus. There's and they've got it all in a short, area, football, basketball, all that stuff. So it's a hard place to park at. So if you've never been there, I encourage you to scout out the parking before going, because it'll save you a lot of heartache in that regard. But I wish I could show you a little tape, man. I got video. I could show you what I'm talking about, but I don't know if it would work today.
Download it, baby. Download it while I'm talking about. Russell says he has serious question if Notre Dame should be included in the play. Brother, Notre Dame is in. They have to lose to Army, which that's not happening. Army's not as good as their record. They have played no one. I mean, no one. That's why they're not higher than they are. And I don't see USC rising up to beat Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is going to rise in on their 11-1 year, even with a loss to Bloomington South High School. I'm sorry, I mean Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
That's amazing. They have by far the worst loss. It's not even close. No one has a loss that even comes close of the teams that we're talking about in this college football playoff picture. There's not a loss that even comes close into losing at home to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
That's still mind-boggling. I don't know.
I don't know who they've played after Northern Illinois, because I don't think it's necessarily been that all tough.
Navy, they've had Navy, they've got Army, but Army is, like I said, Army's not that good. USC is like 15th in the Big Ten. They're not good. So
it'll be interesting to see what USC does against them. But this Army team is pretty darn good, I think. They're undefeated. They run a triple option, which is hard to defend. And I like Jeff Monken because he's a heck of a ball coach. So that game will be an interesting one to watch. So let me see if I could share my screen. Is it coming up on your side?
It will be now.
All right, there we go. We're in. So I picked this play out. This is early on against Penn State. Penn State did a lot of exotics in terms of.
We've got 1 minute left as an FYI.
All right. But this play is what we call a run pass option for Penn State. And if you watch it closely, the quarterback makes a bad decision here because he's got a blocker for 20. And if I stop it correctly, you can see he had a big run lane here, but the tight end was out in the pass. And so when you look at some of this stuff, when coaches look at it, that's what they're looking at in the diagrams on how they can exploit a defense like Ohio State. And Penn State did a lot of, and I'll show you the wide of it, what I mean by a lot of stuff that they did in this ball game. They go from a open backfield, or what we call no backs, and all of a sudden they switch to 3 running backs in there, and all of a sudden they're trying to get Ohio State to have to make a lot of different checks in their scheme and stuff. And I think he made a big mistake here because I think he's got a run lane if he can get that guy, because it's a run pass option in that regard. So it's one of those things that Penn State, they had the right game plan, but they did too much of this stuff, gimmicky stuff, that ultimately they got to run away with. But
well, that's one thing about Curtis Rourke. He makes great decisions, and they'll need a lot of that coming up Saturday. And don't forget, join Coach Griff tonight on Who's Your Tailgate. Indiana basketball also on court tonight at 6:30, taking on UNC Greensboro. We'll be there for that as well. I cannot thank everybody enough, as always, for being with us here on the program. And we'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio tomorrow. Probably have the basketball postgame show tonight. I have to confirm that still. But until then, thanks to Bob and Coach Griff. Thanks to you guys most of all. Appreciate you. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the old radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.